Hello, I am Ali, the FF Dynasty Grill, and you are listening to the Dynasty Hot Seat.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hot Seat, the only Dynasty show that is a certified inferno. And today, more than all days, because this is the hottest episode of the year, guys. It's the grill meets the inferno. Doesn't get hotter than this. Ali, great to have you back on, mate. How are you doing?
We are cooking tonight. Yeah, and I'm really good, thanks, Mags. Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird day. It's a bit of an odd time. We just talked about it before the show, in that I've had no rookie drafts for like the last 3 or 4 days, where it's been before that it's just been absolutely non-stop crazy. My phone has been going off non-stop, so it's been quite nice just to take a bit of pause and reflect on what's happening, what picks I like, what picks I didn't like. But yeah, other than that, I'm really good. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, doing really well. We were chatting before we're recording. I was just I don't know if anyone else listening gets to this point, but I said to you, Ali, it's like I'm gonna throw my phone out a window if it buzzes one more time. I swear, it's just like the amount of notifications that comes through. It's almost too much sometimes. So it's nice to have a little break, and we'll just do a mock draft today. So no real stakes, at stake. Apart from, of course, the hot seat pride and all of that, Ali. Right? So we'll get into that soon enough. But first of all, I just want to, remind everyone here, if you're here and you're new, hey, welcome aboard. Good to see you. Make sure you've done all that good stuff that everybody loves, to subscribe, the like, all of that amazing things. And hey, we're running a competition at the minute. It worked really well. The last video, we're going to do it for one more video. This is your final chance. If you want to win access to the best player database out there by Dave Wright, FF Spaceman, leave a comment just saying I'm in, and I'll put you in a draw. And you got a chance to win access to that database. Usually you got to pay for it. You'll get it for free. All you got to do is subscribe and comment, I'm in. And that's it. Easy peasy. And Ali, before we get into heads and tips, you've got some exciting news to share, obviously, as well. The big STREAMATHON that the Fantasy Wildcard do every single year. It's happening again soon, right?
It is, yeah. So next Saturday, the 20th of May. So that is next weekend. Really exciting. We are doing a streamathon, our third streamathon after the success of the previous two. It's just incredible fun, such a rewarding day with Kevin, Matt, and we've got some incredible guests coming on. We're raising money once again for Mind Charity, who are an incredible charity. They do so much good work helping people with all sorts of mental health struggles. We know what happened during the lockdown. There was a hell of a lot go on with mental health struggles. I know myself. A lot of people I know have struggled as well. So they're an awesome charity. So we're raising money for those. So yeah, if I will be sharing the donation link several times before the day. But yeah, any sort of donation, however big or small, is greatly appreciated. We really do need some help reaching our target this year. I'm personally making my donation tomorrow because it is such a fantastic charity. And yeah, it's going to be 16 hours of straight live fire Dynasty content with just some amazing guests. So, I mean, what better way to kick it off than you guys, the Rewind team, kicking us off the very first hour, getting us going. We've also got the Fantasy Sanctuary guys. We've got the 5-Yard Rush. Tale of Two Rivals, which is Dave Wright and Todd Foster. It's a particular highlight for me because them two guys just go at it for 1 hour solid. And it is absolutely hilarious. It's brilliant. So check that out. We've got the Dynasty Nerds. We've got DLF, Roto Underworld, Devi Royale, Dynasty Theory, and so much more. So yeah, check us out. It's going to be from 10 a.m. UK time to 2 a.m. the following day. So yeah, go check it out next Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. You guys do so much work for it, and yeah, all to raise money for a great cause. And if you're not sure what the link is, hey, if you're watching on YouTube, the link is all the way down there. It's in that description. So make sure that you're checking it out. So, Ali, let's get into it, mate. Will we? Let's talk some hints and tips. You got 3 tips for Dynasty players, listening right now. So what's the first one you got for us?
Yes, I mean there could be some repeat tips here, but these are just three the key tips for me. The first one, and these are all to do with the rookie drafts that are happening right now, is before the draft. It's always good if you get your rankings out, put them into tiers, have your tiers set, and then don't be afraid within your rookie drafts to get aggressive and maneuver around the board. So, i.e., if there's one guy left in a tier in your highest tier available, and you're up in 2 or 3 picks time, go and trade up and get that guy. Don't just sit there and accept the guy in the lesser tier that falls to you. Go up and offer a later round pick or an agent veteran that guy might be interested in, or just ask him and say what would it take for me to jump up and grab, because you don't have to say who you're going up for, you just want that pick. So for example, in my rookie draft I was sat at the 201, and Zay Flowers, he dropped to 112 and he was still on the board, so I thought I need to go and get Zay Flowers, because for me there's quite a big teardrop after Zay Flowers, so I offered the 201 and the 212, so probably overpaid, but I managed to get a guy in the higher tier for me, so I was extremely happy with that. And I just think that's a great way of getting quality out of your rookie draft, not just quantity. Get quality picks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I said to Hannah on the 5 Yard Dynasty show just a few days ago, these picks, like, you need to think of them not as like picks at this stage, but they're going to turn into players. So in your head, I'm sure you're thinking, Ali, like, well, who's available at 2-1 and who's available at 2-12? And would I give those two players up for, say, Flowers? Hell yeah. So yeah, do that. A lot of people are still stuck in, thinking about like the pick as like a pick rather than like an actual player, which is weird. So yeah, they're all going to turn to the players. So think about it like that. So yeah, I love that first tip. And tiers, it's weird. It's hard to explain, right? Whenever you're looking at a player who's like at the bottom of one tier, and then the guy below him's like at the top of another tier, and there's this kind of weird, unknown, like you can't put your finger on why it is, but it just feels right sometimes to split them up, right?
Yeah, I mean, there doesn't always need to be facts, stats, or analysis to have guys in different tiers, but you just get a good feeling of where they might fit on your team. You've got to place them in the NFL, what their role is going to be in the NFL, what their ceiling is going to be, what their floor is. That they're the sort of key points that I look at: floor, ceiling, projection. But yeah, it is different because sometimes it will be a guy that's had less production in college than another guy that I've got in a tier ahead, perhaps because of draft capital, or there's plenty of reasons. But yeah, I get it. There's sometimes you just have to get a feeling for a guy being higher than another one, and it is a bit strange.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that as a first tip. You got two more for us then, Ali.
Yes, the second one is just we play fantasy because we want to have fun. So my point two is if you've got a guy that you want to root for, just go and get him. Just pick him in your rookie drafts, and it's just so much more fun if you're picking guys that you really like and you like to root for. And at the end of the day, everybody's ranks are different. So if you like a guy, even if he's not consensus, just go and pick him and feel good about it. Don't pick a guy that you don't like just because someone else says, oh, he's better than so and so, or he's high in my ranks. Just stick to your own ranks and pick the guys that you like, because at the end of the day, nobody really knows right now what's going to happen with these rookies. They don't know what role they're going to have in the NFL. They don't know if they're going to transition into the NFL well. So if you're high on a guy, just go and pick him, because you want to have fun at the end of the day in Dynasty. And I certainly like to have guys that I root for in the NFL on my teams that I think are going to project really well. And then also my other second one is you want also to get a bit of a mixed exposure to these rookies. So you don't really want to have 5 shares of Tank Bigsby, for example, and then no shares of Roschon Johnson. If you love Tank Bigsby, that's absolutely fine, but you don't want to have too much exposure to one of these rookies, just in case Roschon Johnson is the one in that tier that absolutely balls out. So there's a couple of tips in there. Go get a guy that you like and spread your exposure just a little bit.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's one of my favorite tips. It comes from, one guy that's, I know, a favorite of yours, Ali, Scott Connor. He always talks about that, right? Diversify your portfolio is like his big thing. And I think that's just so clever. Like, don't, like, even if like you really like, or against one guy, just take one, like, just in case. Like, you might be wrong. Like, people are wrong a lot, including, me and you. So even if you're really down on a guy, just grab one share just in case,
Exactly. I mean, it could be a guy like, there was not many people on Damian Pierce last year that he got bad
Yeah,
draft capital. If you had one share just in case, then you've made money on that pick from last year. I know a guy that I took last year in James Cook, a guy that I wasn't high on, still not particularly high on, but he's now got a chance to be the lead back on that team. And if
yeah,
he does, that pick is going to make me or increase in value. So you just have to, just in case these rookies do pan out, you
yeah.
need some exposure to them.
I think it might end up being a different Cook being the lead back in that team, just from what I've read lately. That could be interesting. And you've got one more tip for us then, Ali, do you?
Yeah, so this goes for rookie drafts or startup drafts really, and it's such a simple one, but it would be don't draft for need, which is I get asked so many times, I really need a running back, but these are the guys that are available, or I can pick Zay Flowers or Quentin Johnson. For me, you just take the best player that's available on the board in say 99% of cases. So if you've got Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts on your team, and you're sat there at the 103, you probably don't need another quarterback. So don't be reaching for someone else. I like to play Dynasty a bit like the stock market. So I'd rather pick an asset that has upside to blow up that I can then sell on later. Because at the end of the day, your rookie drafts in May, June, July, you don't even have to ever play that rookies. You can trade them away between now and the end of the season. So it's play it a bit like the stock market. Pick the asset on the board you think is gonna increase in value the most, because you could make extra value on that pick.
Yeah, I think so. I very largely agree with that. My only one thing I always think is if it's super flex and you really need a quarterback, I think it's just so important. Like even if it is like a slight reach, even if you're like, God damn, I gotta take
Oh
Will
yeah.
Levis at like 110 or something like that. But because you can't buy these guys. You can maybe buy like a 1 year rental quarterback, but you're just kicking the can down the road. Like I think that's maybe the only exception. If you're like starved a quarterback and somehow still end up at the back of the draft through hook or by crook, whatever happened, I think maybe only then would you think, right, I just gotta take somebody here. Is that something that you would agree with? Are you still just like, no, take the best player and see if you can trade them for a quarterback? Or
No, it kind of depends who it is, but yeah, I guess people like Will Levis have still got a chance to make it and increase value on where you're going to pick him. Certainly in Superflex, which is purely what I play right now, it's quarterbacks are absolutely king. It's so hard to trade for a decent quarterback. You have to give up so much, and especially for in Superflex, you want to get an elite quarterback, at least one of them, and it's so difficult to trade for an elite quarterback right now. So yeah, definitely in Superflex, you want to focus on the quarterbacks, and then you just pick best player available, probably from the pool of the other positions.
I tried to buy Joe Burrow the other day. You know what I got back? You want
Go on.
five firsts for Joe Burrow. And it's just like,
in other words,
serious.
I'm not selling.
He was being deadly. He was trying to tell me it was worth it. I was like, mate, sorry, mate. I like me some Joe Burrow, but yeah, that's too much. And with that bombshell, let's jump into our mock draft. So we've got only rookies on the board here. It is super flex, not a tight end premium. So let's dive right in at the 1-1 and talk to me about who you're taking.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to exactly pull up many trees with this pick. It's going to be Bijan Robinson, just because if you've got the 101 and you don't want to trade out of the 101, or people aren't willing to pay a haul for the 101, you've got to pick Bijan Robinson, I think, in any format other than perhaps a 14-team, 16-team Superflex position, because quarterbacks are so hard to get in them leagues where there's more teams in. Then I can definitely see leaning with the quarterbacks, but in a standard 12-team Superflex league, I think Bijan Robinson has got the safe floor. With the 101, you don't want to miss. And Bijan Robinson, he's not played a snap in the NFL yet, but we think he's a prospect that isn't going to miss. And in fact, he's got an incredibly high ceiling. So it could we are looking at the next Saquon Barkley. So a guy that has RB1 in the realms of possibilities every single year, but has also got an incredibly safe floor. That Atlanta Falcons team, they just love to run the ball. They rushed the ball the second most in the NFL last year, and this is with Tyler Algier, 4th, 5th round pick, Caleb Huntley, and Cordarrelle Patterson. So, I mean, if Bijan Robinson's going to get the workload on that team, it's going to be absolutely scary.
The interesting thing I seen on Twitter, it was a poll, and it was a lot sort of like closer than I thought, but it was, would you rather the 2023 1-1 or the 1-2 and the 1-3?
Personally, I'd probably go 1-2 and 1-3.
Yeah,
just because I think you've got so much more in terms of value. That's definitely the side I'd want. You can do so much more with a 1-2, 1-3. But yeah, that is an interesting one. I think I might have even seen that trade pulled off. You know, it might have been something small on top of the 1-1, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that trade that pulled off.
Yeah, people have got Bijan fever as well. Like people really like. It's so hard. Like people, the like consensus advice seems to be, you know, if you're a bad team and you've ended up with a 1-1 because you're a bad team, you probably don't like you aren't ready for Bijan in your team. You should probably trade back. But everyone's response seems to be either like I can't trade back or like screw you. I'm taking like I love Bijan. Like it's one of those two, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the sad position where I've not got a single Bijan share. I wasn't the 101 in any league. I did try in a couple of leagues, but it seems that I'm not very good at tanking, so I ended up with the 1-2, 1-3, or 1-4. But I just need to take one share. I need to somehow trade up to the 101 and just pick a share. I've still got a few drafts coming up, so hopefully it happens. But yeah, if you're a team if you're the worst team in the league, you normally have the 101. Yeah, I think it is difficult, but it's not the worst case if you do pick Bijan because you can trade him away later on in the season or before the season.
I've got a small victory lap. I won a league last year, and I've also got the 1-1 because I traded it like 2 years ago. It's an absolute. I absolutely love it. It's only one league, may never happen again, but yeah, loving it. So we got Bijan locked in. Who's following him up then at 1-2?
Yeah, so this is a guy who I pre-draft. He was my quarterback 2, but he's moved up to quarterback 1. It's Anthony Richardson. Sticking with the chalk at the minute, just because I mean, my worry with Richardson was where he was he going to slide in the NFL draft? The Indianapolis Colts was always going to be the perfect landing spot for him with Shane Steichen. What he done with Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Jalen Hurts, but the floor is just there with Anthony Richardson. I think we're going to see a pretty similar season to what Justin Fields was last year. Perhaps not quite to that level, but it's going to be pretty similar. There's going to be some rushing concepts in there. His floor is just so safe. I think he's locked in with that because of that Russian ability, that athletic ability he's got. For 2 to 3 years, his value, even if he doesn't show, doesn't reach his potential, is still going to be top 10, top 12. Where if it doesn't work out after year 1 or year 2, you could probably still move off him and not lose any value on the pick. So I'm really excited to see what he does in this Colts offense. So for me, it has to be Richardson at 2, just because of that ceiling is extremely high.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he seems to be fairly consensus now at 2. So sort of slowly like moving up everyone's board to 2 overall. And who's following Richardson then at 3?
Yeah, so I'm not going to change my rankings, although these 2 are pretty back to back. I'm going to stick with CJ Stroud.
Yep.
Just because I don't think much has changed. And actually, the talk with the pre NFL draft was CJ Stroud was going to be the quarterback that was going to fall out of the top 5, possibly top 10. But for him to be taken at pick 2, and then the Texans traded the absolute haul to get back to pick 3, just shows how much or how invested they are in CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Rightly so. I think he is the guy that's going to turn around the franchise. Not saying that he's top. His ceiling is probably top 7, top 8 in terms of the quarterback rankings, which some people might not like the fact that they're going to be drafting a guy this high that probably hasn't got the ceiling that Richardson has. But I think he's just so safe. I think his value is going to carry him through. I think with the Texans, they're going to give him a run of 2 to 3 years to really show what he can do. So I think he's incredibly safe. They've got a decent O-line, not really got great weapons. I'd rather they didn't trade their first round pick away next year. I mean, that could have been someone like a Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Which is a massive shame, but I still think that the floor is there with CJ Stroud, and he's going to be a really safe quarterback in the future.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think that the Texans kind of really making a point, like in the offseason, to make sure that offensive line was, as good as they could make it probably for CJ Stroud. That's pretty good for him. And yeah, while there's no like real standout weapons there, someone like Robert Woods, that's a safe pair of hands there, right? That can get a couple of targets to CJ Stroud, and hopefully, fingers crossed for his fantasy production. The fact that there isn't that many weapons, he might, open up. He might run a little bit, which would be perfect for him, right?
We know he can do it. We saw it in that game was against Georgia that he can do it, and I think that he will have to do it in the NFL. They've got some sneaky weapons. Couple Tank Dell that they picked this year. See John Mechie coming back is decent because I was pretty high on him last year. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, in terms of long-term value for Stroud, I think he's gonna pretty much stay around the quarterback 10 to 15 for 2 to 3 years. So a pretty safe prospect to get here.
Exactly. If you do it against Georgia, you can do it against the Eagles pretty much, right? So that's perfect, right?
Easy.
Yeah. So who's coming in then at a pick 4? You staying with the quarterbacks here, or are you veering somewhere else?
Yeah, I think I have to stick with quarterback, although Jahmyr Gibbs has certainly shot up in terms of value from where I expected him to go. I expected him to still have JSN ahead of him. Might be a bit of a clue to who I'm picking next. But just Gibbs securing that value is unbelievable. So yeah, Bryce Young at 104. And if you're sitting at 104 and you're landing the 101 in the NFL draft, I mean that's incredible. I think he's set up to have a pretty successful year one, to be honest. I think the Panthers are building the right way. They've got a fairly solid O-line. They've got an awesome defense. They're in a really poor division. I mean, the Falcons improved. Buccaneers and Saints, maybe not so much. I don't think they're going to be competing this year. So I think that the stage is there for Bryce Young to have a really good first year. I think we can see that he's the best. For me, he's the best quarterback coming out in this NFL draft.
Yeah.
And it's just an incredibly safe prospect. Obviously, the size was the concern coming in. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be absolutely fine. And like CJ Stroud, I think he's going to live around quarterback 12 to quarterback 8 is probably his ceiling. And I think that's where you'll find him in the next 2 to 3 years, and just be happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like sometimes harder thing to realize, but like, we're not picking the best quarterback here. We're picking the best, fantasy quarterback, right? So Bryce Young doesn't really have, the wheels to compete with even CJ Stroud, never mind, Anthony Richardson. While he might be the best sort of passer of the three, you only get so many points for passing, and it's kind of rigged for these Konami code quarterbacks, which Bryce Young, sadly for him, just isn't. But he might outlast the other guys if you're looking for longevity. If you need, that solid quarterback 2 for your team for the next 10 years, I think Bryce Young might be your guy, right?
He's the perfect quarterback 2 to take, and just feel really good about that, because he can finish as a quarterback 1 any single year, and he might do it every single year because he might be that good. So if he's a quarterback 2 and you're probably drafting him as a quarterback 2, that feels really good in Dynasty.
Yeah, agreed. So you kind of hinted at this, a 1-5. Is it Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah, it's definitely Jahmyr Gibbs now. I think there's I wouldn't say there's a tier break to JSN, just because I think long-term JSN is going to be incredible. But just for Jahmyr Gibbs, for me, is a top 5 Dynasty running back right now. I've got him as my running back 5. I really do think that the ceiling is there for Jahmyr Gibbs. I think with JSN, I think you're looking more longer term. I think he can get top 7, top 8 is in terms of dynasty wide receiver. I don't think he's there yet. Whereas I think you're getting Jameer Gibbs as top 5 running back right now. So I think the value is with Gibbs. I think obviously the Lions are doing an incredible job putting together that roster. I think personally, I think they're ready to compete. I think you saw with Jamal Williams last year get so many touchdowns on the ground. I think this is a team that's ready to win, and I think Jameer Gibbs is going to get plenty of catching opportunities, because if you think Jameson Williams is suspended, there's not a massive amount of weapons outside of Amon Ra. You've got Sam Laporta, obviously rookie tight end, coming in there. So I think Jameer Gibbs is going to come out and catch so many passes out the gate. Obviously, Jared Goff, the quarterback, loves to dump it off. So I think Jameer Gibbs, I think hopefully they use him in the right way, because obviously he's not the biggest running back. But yeah, I think that the sky is the limit for Jameer Gibbs. I think he's a top 5 running back immediately. So to get him here, I think is really good value.
Yeah, do you know what? Everyone's obviously, quite rightly talking about, his pass catching and Jared Goff and dumping it off. What's kind of being like slid under the radar a little bit is how good that Detroit Lions offensive line is. Like, they're one of the best in the league. And there's going to be pretty big holes for Jameer Gibbs to run into. And if he gets free, like, you forget how, like, he's so fast as well. Like, so there's a home run threat there, along with all of that, PPR, just gobbling up those points that way. He's also got, he could break off these like 50, 60-yard runs if he gets an alleyway. So I think you're absolutely spot on, mate. I think top 5 is, some people might be like, well, it's a bit much, but I think it's spot on with Jameer Gibbs. I'm really excited to see what he can do.
There's just so many question marks around a lot of the running backs outside of Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, who's coming back off the injury, and obviously Bijan. You get down to Barkley, who's playing on the franchise tag. There's plenty of running backs that have got question marks, or they're getting up there in age. So I just think Jameer Gibbs just slots in nicely inside the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, even those 3 you said, Jonathan Taylor coming off an injury, CMC like constantly injured, Breece Hall coming off an injury. Like, it's tough at the top at running back, like it really is. So yeah, I think Gibbs rightfully slots in there, even though he's not played yet. But I'm excited. And is JSN your next guy? Then you said you'd swap them over.
Yeah, JSN will be the next pick. He's still the top running back, wide receiver in this rookie class. Just he separated himself with the pre-draft process through the combine. Just such a class player. We know what Garrett Wilson was able to do, Chris Olave, and they both said that Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best wide receiver of the 3. I think he's got a long way to go to bet what they done in year 1. And I also think it's obviously going to be tough with him year 1 with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf on that Seattle team, as well as Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. I think they're absolutely loaded. And I don't think there's a way that he can see 20% share in year 1. I think it's going to be shared around, which is going to be fine. I think it's going to be more year 2 where you really see that value increase when they sort of fade. Tyler Lockett, who's still locked into that contract, but he's 31 now, going to be 32. Surely he's going to start slowing down. And I think once he does move on, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf are going to absolutely smash. So yes, it's more of a long-term play, but if you're picking him at 106, you're going to feel absolutely great about getting him there.
You know what? I'm convinced halfway through the season, there's going to be a buy window for Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I can't wait to jump on it. The exact same way it was with Devonta Smith in his first year. There was a little window where you could go and buy him because he didn't have that target share fully like fleshed out yet. I think JSN might go through the same kind of thing where he's like still learning the offense, doesn't quite have that high target share because there's a lot of other people around him. I think there's going to be a buy window there, and I'm certainly going to jump on it with both hands.
I also think that if he does come out the gate and absolutely smashes, I think then that sets up a buy window for DK Metcalf, because he's already from where he was this time last year. He's already sliding down people's values. So again, if if the three is sharing the workload around, I think this could be a small buy window for DK as well.
Yeah, I like that as well, actually. Yeah, I never even thought of that one. Yeah, but yeah, go get yourself some DK Metcalf. You know, I have 0 shares of DK Metcalf, actually. I might go and fix that. Let's see if I can
You need to.
rectify that. Absolutely. So we got JSN locked in at 106. Who's following him up at pick 7?
Yeah, so I'll go for my wide receiver 2 in Jordan Anderson, who just fell to the perfect spot for a wide receiver opposite Justin Jefferson, probably the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. It's just set up absolutely perfect with Adam Thielen moving on to Carolina. I think Jordan Anderson, I'm gonna have a sneaky bet on him being offensive rookie of the year. I think his odds are fairly long compared to say Bijan and the quarterbacks. I think it takes a couple of injuries, but Jordan Anderson for me is going to put up the most yardage for a rookie wide receiver. I think he's going to absolutely smash from year one, and we know the talent is there for Jordan Anderson. So it's just an absolute perfect spot for him. I'm taking him over at 107. I think I've got a couple of shares, both at this spot. I feel really good about it. There's not a massive tier break from JSN to Jordan Addison from what happened in the NFL draft. Yeah, I love Addison in this spot.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he's really good value here at 1.7, and I think now moving on to 1.8. This for me, I don't know about you, Ali, but this for me, this 1.8 until like 1.12, it's a bit ugly. It's a bit like there's no real value here. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm still if I've got the 108, yeah, I'm still happy with this pick because Quentin Johnston is someone that I wasn't massively high on pre-draft. I had him below Zay Flowers, but I mean, he's landing with my guy Justin Herbert, and I couldn't be happier for Herbert, for Johnston, and for the Chargers because I think it's going to be absolute poetry between these two. Obviously, got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams that are both getting up there in age. They never stay healthy all season. I think Quentin Johnston's going to come in, get those deep shots from Herbert. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. From year one, I think Johnson's going to produce fairly decent numbers, with the view of 2024 being an absolute smash. There's obviously some concerns about Johnson, his hands, and he doesn't play as big as what he is. But I think he's in the perfect offense with the perfect quarterback where it's just set up for him to succeed. So if I'm still at the 108, I'm really happy to take Johnston. He's in that tier with Jordan Addison for me.
He's a guy that, we talked earlier, it's like sometimes you might be wrong. He's the guy that I just don't, like, I'm not in on, but enough people are that I'm going to have to come away with at least one because I can't just, keep overlooking. And I mean, to me, I just don't, it's the hand issues worry me. It's, no one's talking, I'm the only guy talking about, he's got these little skinny, he looks like Johnny Bravo, right? He's got these like tiny little legs, right? And then this huge upper body. And I'm just like, it doesn't quite like fit fully for me. But Justin Herbert, right? You're right. You can't overlook. Justin Herbert's going to put it in a place where he can't drop it. So
just wait for him to put on them powder blue uniforms of the Chargers. I think it's going to look so smart. And when he's catching an 80-yard bomb from Justin Herbert, I think that's when you're going to be in on him.
Yeah, I think week one I'll just be like, damn it, I should have taken for like
3 touchdowns and 200 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's almost certainly going to happen. So we got Johnson locked in, and who's following him up then at 1.9? Tell you something I think about at this range, even though it's not tight end premium, I'm staring at Dalton Kincaid even at 1.9 and non-tight end premiums. Is that too rich for you, Ali, or what do you think?
No, I think I personally have done 9 rookie drafts right now, and I've still not got a share of Dalton Kincaid, and he's my guy. I've just not been in a position to take him, and it's really depressing me. So yeah, he's certainly a consideration for me at 1.9. 1.10 is where I'm happy to take him. I'm still reaching at wide receiver here in Zay Flowers. Probably going to be my pick here, but certainly in tight end premium, Kincaid is in consideration. But even for me, I know say don't draft for need, but if you've not got one of them elite tight ends, I'm just happy to take a shot on Dalton Kincaid because it gets to the stage where this is where I'm trying to trade back. But if I can't trade back because nobody's wanting to jump up, which has been the case in so many of my drafts so far, I'm just happy to take him because I think Dalton Kincaid has got top 5 potential in terms of a
Yeah,
tight end. So I'm happy to
agreed.
take him there. But yeah, but Zay Flowers is somewhere where when he landed, I was like, oh God, the wide receiver graveyard has got another victim.
Yeah,
But when you scratch beneath the surface, I kind of like the landing spot. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, rushing quarterback, but he wants to pass it more. They've just paid him an absolute ton of money. They've got
hmm
Todd Monken's come over, and I know firsthand from being a Buccaneers fan that Todd Monken's offenses are pass friendly. So I think there's going to be an increase to the passing output. We've obviously got OBJ. Hopefully he can stay healthy in year one. You've
yeah,
got Rashad Bateman. There's always rumors about Rashad Bateman being traded, which is always a bit strange. But yeah, and obviously you've got Mark Andrews. So Zay Flowers prospects year one is probably not great, not going to get a massive target share, but he's a different type of receiver to the others. I do think he's going to get plenty of usage year one. I think there will be a buy window halfway through the season for Zay Flowers if he's going to start
yeah,
off slowly. I think that's a great time to buy him if he does start slowly. But he's still in that tier with Johnston and Addison. I think his upside is there. So especially going into 2024, I think he's in a great position with Lamar Jackson. So I still feel really good about taking Flowers at this position. I managed to get him at the 112 in one spot because some people do put that landing spot at Baltimore as
yeah,
a pretty disgusting. But yeah, happy to take him here.
yeah. Absolutely. Zay Flowers at 1.9. And actually, if we just like zoom out a bit, I've got an odd theory. This might be complete waffle, so stop me if it is. So by and large, like the kind of consensus from not just like Dynasty or fantasy people, but like NFL analysts is this is not a good wide receiver class, like overall. But
Yeah.
yet you see in these Dynasty drafts all the time, in the first round, there's these like 4 guys all the time. Do you think that's a product not only of like they're obviously talented, but because after like these guys, there's not really anything. So if you're going to take a receiver, you gotta take them there.
Yeah, I also think because they all got first round draft capital is
Yeah,
massive. They all went to wide receiver needy teams. So I think you're right. I think there is certainly a big tier break between these and the next big wide receiver. I also think in terms of the dynasty landscape, it's moved more towards people wanting wide receivers. I know
yeah,
when I first joined the wild card a couple of years ago, it was the theory was you want to hammer running backs early on because you can wait on wide receivers and get
hmm
the depth later on. But it's completely flipped around for me, and I'm reaching for
yeah,
wide receivers. Wide receivers are seeing spikes in value like running backs used to. So I think that's another reason. If you want to get a young stud, obviously we have been blessed lately with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb,
yeah,
Olave, Garrett Wilson. So people are looking for the next one. And I'm not saying any of these guys are outside of JSN, but I think they can. I think they can certainly get top 10, top 10, top 12. So they can be a wide receiver one in Dynasty. So I think the ceiling is there, but certainly you're right. There's a big tier break behind these guys.
yeah. And I always feel like it's so much harder to like get lucky at wide receiver as well, right? You can
Mm.
kind of get a bit lucky with running back. Sometimes you can take a punt on someone and like they just like appears like you always think of like a few years it's like, oh cool, like I've got Mike Davis on my roster. It's like, oh wow, look at this, like he's doing amazing. Or like there's always like one, oh Cordero Patterson's been in my roster for the last 3 years. I'm like, oh wow, look at that, look at him go. Like you get a bit lucky, whereas you don't tend to get lucky with wide receivers. There's the
Mm-hmm.
fact that there's more of them on the field at the same time. So yeah, that's just I think if you're going to take a quality wide receiver, you got to take them early, and try not to miss out.
The classic one for me the last year was Jerick McKinnon. He helped me win
Yeah,
1 or 2 championships just because of that insane pass catching and the touchdowns that he scored towards the end of the season. And he was a guy that nobody wanted a year ago. So
no,
yeah, you can get lucky. You were spot on.
yeah, absolutely. So we got 3 picks left of the first round. So who are you thinking of taking with pick 110?
Yeah, so let's go a bit crazy. I know Kev
Yes.
will be absolutely hating this pick, but we're gonna show a bit of love to the tight end position and Dalton Kincaid. This
Love
is a
it.
classic position where I'm desperately trying to trade back maybe 5 or 6 picks to say the 2-3, 2-4, and still feel like I could now Kincaid. But I
Mm,
have seen him just going earlier and earlier in rookie drafts where this is just pretty much where he's been going in the last 2 or 3 drafts that I've done. And
yeah.
I don't hate it because even when it's not tight end premium, you're picking a guy that for me can come in and be a top 5 dynasty tight end. I mean, you've had that group for a while now. We've obviously got Kyle Pitts that have come in and not done a huge amount, but he's still ranked 1, 2, 3 in terms of the tight end. You've
Yeah.
got Kelsey. You want the next Kelsey. You want the next Mark Andrews from a couple of years ago. Hawkinson's in there, and then you've got Goddard and Kittle. But
Yeah.
other than that, you've just not had a tight end that's really broke into that group other than Kyle Pitts. So for me, Kincaid has got the next great shot. Obviously, there's an incredible tight end coming in next year in
Yeah.
Bowers, but right now, Kincaid, it for me is the closest thing that we've got. The Buffalo Bills traded up to get him. They fell in love with him. There's just a spot on that team where Josh Allen needed another pass catcher. He's going to be playing in the slot. Um, he's got a
Yeah.
chance to really be, like I say, a top 5 tight end. So to take him here, there's plenty of upside.
I think if I was going to make one prediction about a player in 3-4 years time where people are going to be kicking themselves they didn't take him earlier, I think it's going to be Dalton Kincaid. I really do. I think he's that
Mm-hmm.
good, and the Bills didn't draft him to the block, I'll tell you that much.
Well, exactly it. He's not that type of player. He is very much in the Kelsey-esque
Yeah.
where he just gets downfield so quickly and just finds the pockets of space, and he's just going to move the chains for Josh Allen, which was a problem last year. He had Stephon Diggs. Then other than that, it was just where's Stephon Diggs if he's not open? Josh
Yeah.
Allen just took off, or he
Yeah.
struggled to find another pass catcher. So I think Kincaid is going to be great. Obviously, tight ends they don't see the massive spike in value, or they don't tend to, especially year one. But I just think Kincaid could be an outlier. So worth the shot here.
Absolutely agree. So Kincaid's locked in at 110, and don't be a hater, Kev. Come on, 110 is fine for Dalton Kincaid.
Come on, Kev, he'll get on board.
Yeah. So we've got 2 picks left of the first round. Then who's coming in at 111?
Yeah, so certainly because it's super flex, Levis is in my thought right now.
Yep.
But I'm going to go back to the running back pool. Go for a really small guy, but a really fast guy in Devon A-Chain is going to be my pick here. He's my running back 3. There is a massive teardrop from Jahmyr Gibbs, but it was before the draft. It was like, right, which of these running backs are going to land in Miami and that potential offense? And Devon A-Chain, they obviously already have so much speed, but he's like a track guy that I think it's inevitable that he's going to take 2 or 3 really long runs to the house because of that scheme that they've got in Miami, the outside zone scheme, that he's just going to find lanes and just burst through them. He's not going to be an every down workhorse back. They've got the other 2 older running backs for that, but I think he's a guy that only really needs 40% of the snaps, 45, 50% of the snaps to be effective because of how consistent and that he's going to be when he touches the ball. So I think it's worth the pick here because I think if he does see a big spike, a big game, you're going to see a spike in value where you can move up him if you want. Or he's a guy that if he consistently shows it 3 or 4 games running, I think that he's going to move up people's boards in terms of their dynasty ranks. So I really like A-Chain in this position.
Yeah, I just can't wait to see him play. He's so exciting. Like I'm just real, and it's that's like the if it wasn't for Anthony Richardson going to the Colts, that would have been the best landing spot of the whole draft almost. Like it's just great. And a move I've been trying to make, I've successfully done it once because I've got a hell of a lot of DeAndre Swift shares. I'm trying to get
Mhm.
Devin Achane plus for DeAndre Swift, and I quite like that. I don't know if you're like, maybe not.
I love that. That would be the move that I'm making because, yeah, Swift is a risky asset right now. I think there's a lot of people that are really high on Swift going to the
Yeah,
Eagles, thinking that there's a lot of touchdown opportunities, but I think it's going to be in a committee. They've not obviously not paid a lot of money for him. It's basically a 1 year rental. So I think that's the move to make because I think the
yeah,
ceiling for Achane is there.
yeah, absolutely. So he's there at 111, and who's finishing off the first round at 112?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a guy that is consistently falling to the early to mid part of the second round. I'll go for Zach Charbonnet, the running
Yeah,
back that Pete Carroll, he's doing my head. And I think the head coach that we've hated the most the last 2 or 3 years has been Kyle Shanahan from the 49ers, just because of his usage with all the players that he's got there. I think we need to
yeah,
change it to Pete Carroll and hate on Pete
yeah.
Carroll just because of what he's done with JSN and with Charbonnet, two guys that I was really high
I
on.
know.
Um,
Yeah,
I still think that the usage for Charbonnet is going to be there. Obviously, Kenneth Walker is a guy that caught 35 passes last year. That's obviously going to decrease for Walker. I think Charbonnet at the very worst is going to be the third down back. He's got plenty of juice. For me, he was easily my running back 3 in a tier of his own before the draft.
yeah,
I've just moved Achane up with him post-draft. But I still think the ceiling is there for Charbonnet. I think a lot of people are just expecting Kenneth Walker just to carry on his workhorse role. And Kenneth Walker is a better running back than Zach Charbonnet, definitely.
yeah,
But I think Charbonnet is still going to have a role. And then if Kenneth Walker ever does miss time, because running backs always miss time, then Zach Charbonnet is going to be so important for fantasy, and his ceiling is going to be so high. So I'm still taking him here just because of the talent. I'm going to bank on the talent. The draft capital was fine. Obviously, landing spot could have been better, but at this position where you're not going to feel great about any of these picks, I'll just go for Zach Charbonnet because of the ceiling could be there, especially if Walker misses any time.
yeah. I think what happened last year kind of scared them, right? Whenever Penny got injured, and then Walker became the workhorse, and then Walker got injured as well. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if this pick is Pete Kyle going, well, maybe committee is really the way forward. And I don't expect it to be 50-50. I expected we were like
Yeah.
60-40. But even 40% on the Seahawks is like a 70% on other teams. So I think Charbonnet is a really good pick there at 112. And one of my favorite ones as well, because it's like, look at the value before the draft. What kind of player you're getting? You're getting a really good player there. So often the time, the good players do rise to the top, even above bad landing spots. So I think Charbonnet is a really good pick there at 112. And now we're into round number 2, Ali. So let's fire through round 2 and kick it off at 2-1 for us.
Yeah, so I won't say too much about this pick because don't feel great about it. It would be Will Levis.
Yeah.
Obviously, super flex draft. You take the quarterback that I think is probably not going to start many games this year. I think they've obviously Tannehill is going to stay there, probably start the first few games of the season. I think Tennessee's not going to be a very good team this year. So I do think that Will Levis is going to see some time, especially second half of the season. So he's got all the tools to be a really decent fantasy quarterback. He's got rushing. He's obviously an incredibly strong guy. He can make all the throws.
Yeah.
Very inaccurate, but at this position, if you're taking a potential starting quarterback for the back end of this season or next season, I think the value's there to take Levis.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice 1-2 punch. If you've got that 1-1 and still have your second round pick as well, going Bijan and Will Levis is probably going to do your team, quite a lot of good. So I think he's a really good pick there in Superflex at 2-1. So yeah, who's next at pick 2 of the second round?
Yeah, so the value says Kendre Miller because of how much he could see year one. But I'm just going to show some love for my guy Marvin Mims for the Denver Broncos. I think you just see the videos of Sean Payton and how excited, how much his face lights up. He even said, "We got our guy," which is just massive. We know how clever Sean Payton is as an offensive mind, and I just think it's going to be a really exciting offense with Marvin Mims. They've clearly got a role in mind for Marvin Mims, even if Judy and Sutton, Cortland Sutton one of them don't get traded, I think Marvin Mims is going to have a role immediately, but especially the back end of this season and into next season. I think the chemistry between Mims and Russell Wilson is really going to be there. And Marvin Mims, I think perhaps if one of those two guys do get traded, he could have been in the next tier for me. So with Flowers and Johnson, I think is that good a prospect, and on a team that they clearly love him. I'm really excited to see how this offense plays out with Marvin Mims.
Yeah, I could see it being Mims and Judy. I mean, I said it since I think episode 1 of the Dynasty Hotseat. I was like, Cortland Sutton absolutely sucks. Like, I've never seen I don't understand the Cortland Sutton. I don't get it. Jerry Judy, I think there's still hope for Jerry Judy for sure. I think it's going to be Mims and Judy, and I think that's quite exciting. And they'll probably get somebody else next year to fill in for Cortland Sutton. So yeah, I think, and is he the first pick of Sean Payton at Denver as well? We'll see. Yeah, that's exciting, right? That
says a lot for me. I think they even moved up a few spots to get him. So I think it's really exciting times. I've got plenty of shares of him right now, so I'm really excited for what the future holds.
It could be Slant Boy 2.0, right? That's very exciting.
Yeah, why not, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. So who's following Marvin Mims then at pick 3 of the second round?
Yeah, I'll take Kendre Miller here. I think this is the spot to take him. The sort of not so early round 2, but towards the middle. I think he's certainly going earlier. I've seen him go in plenty of drafts at the back end of round 1, so you probably haven't to take him there, just because I think he's got an immediate shot to perhaps be the RB1 on the Saints with Kamara possibly missing a good chunk of the season. I think Miller is a decent running back. I think he's pretty much exactly the same running back as Jamal Williams. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out. Not exactly a pass catcher, but the offense as a whole should take a step forward with Derek Carr, Chris Olave in year 2. I think Kendre Miller's got a realistic shot of having pretty similar production to a Jahmyr Gibbs, perhaps not Bijan Robinson year 1. So yeah, I think if you're taking him in the second round, I think there's a chance that you could make a bit of value on that pick and possibly sell him for a first round pick if he really shows production out of the gate.
Yeah, he's one that he's an interesting player. Like throughout the process, I've kind of been gathering like ADPs like during different stages of the preseason, and Miller before the draft was going around in Superflex pick number 30, which I couldn't quite get my head around. But then post draft, his average ADP was all the way up at 13, and then I'm like, oh, that's too much. So I think like actually finding that sweet spot like about where you are here is about right for Kendre Miller. But yeah, you're right. He's definitely be going earlier, and I think you got to have the caveat of this is probably a one year kind of guy. Like him being the long-term guy there is going to be really tough for him. But if you're happy to take a late first on a 1 year rental and I hope it wins you a championship, then yeah, smash it. Why not? Absolutely. So Kendre Miller though at 2-3, I think that's about right for him, I think. So who's following at 2-4?
I think we'll go for Michael Mayer. The tight end. I think the landing spot for the Raiders is absolutely perfect. Obviously losing Darren Waller. I think Michael Mayer was he was my tight end too, but he was really neck and neck with Kincaid. It's just because of Kincaid going to the Bills round 1 pushes him ahead. I think Michael Mayer's got just as much chance to smash early on because Jimmy G loves his tight ends. I think Michael Mayer is going to be a safety blanket in that offense year 1 with Jimmy G. So I think you're going to see immediate production from Michael Mayer. So I think it warrants a mid-second round pick because, again, I think the ceiling, a bit like Kincaid, he could probably be a top 7, top 8 dynasty tight end. So it's probably worth a second round pick on him.
Yeah, definitely. He's another odd one as well. Like his ADP has dropped like post-draft, even though he got like an awesome landing spot. So maybe it's because he didn't go in the first, but I mean, what pick was he in the second round? Pick 2? Like pick 3?
Very close, yeah.
Yeah. And And there was one less pick in the first round this year anyway as well. So yeah, I don't see why the draft capital has really, knocked him so much. So I think he's great value here at 2-4 for a player that was, going at 112 in a lot of drafts before. So yeah, I think 2-4 is really good for Michael Mayer. Who's up next after him?
Yes, the top guy there in the ADP, it'll be Jonathan Mingo. So I think I've actually just missed out on a potential stack there with Bryce Young. If you're able to pick him at the 2-4, and then you could possibly get Mingo at the 1-4, then you can get Mingo at the 2-4. That's a potential tasty stack into the future, because Carolina's got some decent veterans there. Obviously, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, etc. But I think Jonathan Mingo's got the upside, he's got the body, got the build to be long-term Carolina's wide receiver 1. So yeah, if you've got Bryce Young, why not add Mingo at 2-4? It seems to be about right at the ADP. I think the upside for Mingo's there. He obviously got great draft capital. They really like him. So yeah, I think he's a really safe pick, and he's got really good ceiling here.
Yeah, Mingo's another guy. He really stands out on my the tracking the ADP over the last couple of months. Pre-combine, he didn't even register a score. I didn't see him drafted not one time in 2-3 round mock drafts all across the fantasy community. His name did not appear. Then after the combine, he sort of appeared here and there, but he was still going at pick 39, and now he's kind of vaulted right up as the draft capital. You kind of have to do that, but he's one as well that massive jump. I'm like, why? It does make me question. Were Carolina right and was everybody else wrong, or is it the other way around? But I do like that he has Bryce Young, and there's not a lot of other people there. Like the Adam Thielen is there as well. He can learn from someone like him. So there's a lot of positive signs for him as well. And at 2-5, why the hell not, right? Who else is getting at 2-5?
Exactly. There was a lot of talk the week leading up to the NFL that Mingo was going to go a lot higher than expected. So I think there were 2 or 3 teams interested in him, not just the Panthers. So it does give me confidence in him going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's following up with Mingo then at 2-6?
Yeah, so we'll go for another wide receiver that got far better draft capital than expected in Jaden Reed for the Packers. We were wondering were the Packers going to go for JSN in the first round to load up with Jordan Love. No, instead they went to Jaden Reed. Far better draft capital than expected. A guy that I was excited for if he did get the draft capital. So he has settled here at my wide receiver. What is it, 7? I think it is. But yeah, I think the ceiling is there for Jaden Reed, especially in this offense. It's obviously got Watson, which a lot of people are high on Christian Watson. What he started, what he showed in year 1. It's got Romeo Dobbs as well. He sort of showed out a little bit, but then disappeared. So there's not that many weapons in Green Bay. So again, it's a bit of a reset with Jordan Love. He clearly loves the pick. He's been talking about it. Again, it's a bit like the Mingo one. You've got almost like a rookie quarterback in Jordan Love, because we've not really seen what he can do. And we've got a rookie wide receiver in Reed where they can grow together. They've been, I think it's got a good chance to smash. And I think the value's here in the mid second round. I think he could potentially be the wide receiver 1 on that team. I know Rich Calling absolutely loves Jaden Reed. A lot of people love Watson, but I think it's almost going to be a 1A, 1B situation. I think Reed really is probably that good.
Yeah, I think Reed's someone who's going to eat into Romeo Dobbs's target share rather than a Christian Watson. He kind of lives in the same kind of realm as Dobbs. I really like Jalen Reed as well. He just looks like a real solid receiver. And, weirdly enough, I've got more hope for him with Jordan Love as the quarterback instead of Aaron Rodgers, which is weird to say because Rodgers he takes so long for Aaron Rodgers to trust you, and he just is happy to lose games throwing to Alan Lazard than giving other people a chance. But Love, you're right, he doesn't have that kind of bond with people. So Jalen Reed's got just as much of a chance as anyone else to come in and get that spark with the quarterback. So I think that's really good value there at 2-6, and we got a few picks left of the second round. Who's following up at 2-7?
Yes, we'll dive back into the running back pool now and go for my next running back. Tajay Spears, Tennessee Titans. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that the landing spot wasn't great. The draft capital was maybe a little bit further than expected, but still really solid day two. There's obviously the medical concerns about Tajay Spears and not having an ACL, which is not really seen it in the NFL. But I think that the Tennessee Titans clearly done their homework. They've done their medical checks on Spears. There's no way they'd be taking him that high if he wasn't going to be cleared. If they don't feel that they can get at least 2-3 good years out of Tajay Spears, I think he's a perfect complement to Derrick Henry. I think obviously Derrick Henry's really getting up there now. They can probably lighten his usage a bit, and Tajay Spears can take over. And then when Derrick Henry does move on, whether it be next year, because I'm sure they're going to have to enter a rebuilding phase, Tajay Spears could take the lead. And in Dynasty, we only really like to play on a 2 to 3 year window. If you're going to get 3 years out of Tajay Spears, 3 good years, a mid-second round pick is probably about right.
Can we start calling him Prince Tajay as well? I feel like that should be a thing, right? Yeah, King Henry and Prince Tajay. I think that's a good 1-2 punch, right? So yeah, I love the value there. Tajay Spears, a guy that, again, pre-draft, he was going way ahead of this, so it's good value just to grab the guy based on the talent and kind of shoving landing spot to the side for a little bit. So yeah, I think that's really good value there. We got 5 picks left, Ali. So let's dive into 2-8. Who are you taking here? Ooh.
I'll take Rashee Rice, Kansas City Chiefs. I think clearly it's an exciting spot to go in. Juju Smith-Schuster's not on the roster anymore. I think this is his replacement. So for me, I don't think the ceiling's incredibly high for Rashee Rice. Obviously, I'm talking to a big Chiefs fan here, and we know that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's not just going to focus on one target, although he does focus on Kelsey quite a lot because Kelsey's always open. But in terms of the wide receivers, it's incredibly frustrating to own Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers in Dynasty because outside of when Tyreek Hill was there, he doesn't focus on one guy. He's going to spread the ball about to whoever's open, and that's what makes him so brilliant. And I think Rashee Rice is just going to be another cog in that system that's going to help them get to the next Super Bowl. So it's going to have a run where he's going to be really useful. There'll be times where it's not him, it's somebody else in the offense that steps up. But I think he's a really safe guy, and obviously tied to Mahomes, the number one quarterback in Dynasty, is a really safe play. And to take him in this position, I think you've got to feel really good about it.
Yeah, he's a super solid guy. Someone who, you might even be happy with, like, sitting like on a taxi squad even for a year. Like Andy Reid, I was reading an article about, like, rookies under Andy Reid, like offensively, they take like a good bit of time, like, to kind of develop a lot of the time and come through. Obviously a couple of exceptions, but yeah, Rashee Rice, I think, will maybe be the same. He'll take a little bit of time, he'll learn the offense, and yeah, hopefully, start to become, not, I don't see him being, a dynasty fantasy slam dunk. But yeah, if he can produce like Juju Smith-Schuster numbers for a couple of years, that's pretty good value at the back end of the second round. So yeah, I think that's about right for where he should be going. So who's going to follow him up at 2-9?
Yes, I'll pick a couple of guys that I really value so close together, and they're even ranked together there. So I'll go Roschon Johnson for the Chicago Bears. So him and Tank Bigsby, I've got ranked so close together. I think Roschon Johnson, they've come out and said that it's going to be a committee. They're not going to have one guy. But I think once he gets to camp and they see what they've got, they're going to think, well, this guy he's got more juice than Khalil Herbert. This guy is probably going to be the guy that we want to lean on. I just think the ceiling is there with Roschon Johnson. Obviously stuck behind Bijan for his college careers. He's been unlucky because when he was on the field, he's incredibly productive. So I think the ceiling is there for Roschon Johnson. I think I have a feeling he could be. I think a lot of people have said he could be this next year's Dameon Pierce, the guy that got drafted perhaps a bit later than we expected. in day 3, but a guy that could see a big spike in value, and you could probably sell on for an early second round pick, or perhaps even a first round pick if he does smash this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a weird one, Roshan, right? Because he's sort of already this like sneaky dynasty darling, but so is Khalil Herbert. Like people are gonna be so upset whenever like one of like their like sneaky players is going to take a hit here. But yeah, I think Roshan's really good value there at the Bears. And do you say you've got right after him? You got Tank Bigsby going right after him?
Yeah, I think so. It's Tank Bigsby is just the guy that can just do it all, and I think the Jags are going to love what he can produce for them. Obviously, Travis Etienne, for many, well, for me as well, is a top 8 dynasty running back, and rightly so. But he's also shown that he's got injury concerns as well. So there will be points in time where he misses, and I think Tank Bigsby has the ability to be a 3-down workhorse, a 3-down back in the NFL. So I think he's going to have a role from day one, and I think that role could increase if ETN misses any sort of time.
Yeah, absolutely. We even seen people like like James Robinson have a pretty decent role at the Jags, even when ETN was healthy, like towards the start of last season. So I think it's obviously in Doug Peterson's plan to use more than one running back. So I think Tank Bigsby is a great, 1-2 punch with Travis Etienne, and yeah, great pick there at 210. And we got 2 left. Who's going to finish off the draft for you?
Well, we can't not take another tight end, so we'll go with Sam Laporta, the tight end for Detroit, which shocked a lot of people, including myself, when they picked him ahead of Michael Mayer in the draft. But I think I love it because Sam Laporta perhaps isn't the great pass catcher that Michael Mayer is, but is probably a better all-round tight end. And obviously they've not got TJ Hockenson anymore. I think he's going to come in, and I think he could produce immediately with the fact that Jameson Williams is missing time through suspension. So Sam Laporta could be cast into a role where he catches 4 or 5 passes a game right out of the gate. So yeah, I think Sam Laporta, you've got to feel really great about that, especially with the great draft capital that he had.
Yeah, my only like hesitation with Sam Laporta is I think he needs to block like slightly better, especially considering like who his head coach is. Dan Campbell. You have to block for that guy, or you're just not going to play. So he's got to work his ass off. He's got the draft capital for it. He's got to really come in and work. And what is it he says? Grit. Show that grit, right? Or he's not going to see the field. But yeah, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's very, very exciting. And another reason to love like the Detroit Lions. I just love watching the Lions play. So I'm just more excited to see them play next year more than ever. And Sam Laporta is our penultimate pick. So who's rounding off the second round for you then, Ali?
Especially game 1, isn't it? The Kansas City Chiefs against the Lions, first game of the season.
I can't wait.
That's going to be insane. I think that's going to be a great matchup. But yeah, we'll go with Josh Downs as to round out the draft. Hendon Hooker for a lot of people is a second round pick. For me, I'd rather take him early round 3. I have taken him in one spot at the 212, so this position. But Josh Downs, I think, someone that was really disappointed in the draft capital. I thought he was going to get taken early day 2. The Colts, for me, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's fine as a landing spot because I think he's got opportunity to start right away. But then you've got obviously Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson struggled in the sort of to throw between 10 meters and 20 meters, which is the area that Josh Downs is going to operate in. So it's probably not great. But Josh Downs is such a solid prospect that it's just insane for his size. The way that he moves is so damn quick, so shifty. I think it's going to be fine. I think he's going to get immediate production, but maybe not quite the ceiling that he could have had if he landed somewhere else.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there. But if Richardson develops the way people hope, then yeah, Josh Downs tied to another rookie. That's pretty exciting. So yeah, I absolutely love that. And that brings us to the end of our official draft, going through each player. But before we wrap up, have you got like one or two kind of sleeper players you're like, oh, I like them in the 3rd round, or even like someone like, oh, I like them in the 4th round?
Yeah, so 3rd round, even though I've been getting him late 3rd round, is Tank Dell is a guy that just got great draft capital, landed in a spot in the Texans where he could end up eventually being the number 1 wide receiver. He's such a small guy, and that was the concern, that we've just not seen a guy produce at his size. But he's just such a great wide receiver. He's such a great route runner. I think if you're taking him in the mid-third round, you're gonna feel really great about that. So that's the guy that I'm definitely trying to chase in the third round. Just looking, fourth round. Fourth round. Dwayne McBride is the guy that I was really high on coming into the NFL draft. Yeah, we'll keep this one a bit quiet. But
no. Don't tell anyone else.
Especially with the Vikings. Rumors that they're going to move on from Dalvin Cook. They could land another running back, but for time being, Dwayne McBride was taken late in the NFL draft, but could have an immediate shot at having some sort of role in the NFL. So if you're taking him, and I've been taking him in the fourth round, you could see a spike in value if he does get sort of any meaningful play time. So that's the late guy that I'm going for.
My most owned rookie so far, Dwayne McBride.
Love that.
Excited, especially after the news about Dalvin Cook. So yeah, glad I got a lot of them while I could. So yeah, keep an eye out for those two guys. Unless you're in a league with me and Ollie, then ignore that. Yeah, completely. So that brings us to the end of the show. Just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show again and giving us some hints and tips and smashing another mock draft. You just want to remind everybody, where can they find you online and what are you up to?
Yeah, so you can find me pretty active on Twitter at FF Dynasty Grill. Just putting out plenty of rookie stuff at the minute, breaking down my exposure to my drafts, some ADP stuff, all sorts of stuff right now. And yeah, we've got the charity streamathon next Saturday, the 20th of May, from 10 a.m. UK time, starting with you guys, and then we're finishing it at 2 a.m. Sunday morning. It's going to be a long day, but it's going to be really fruitful. It's a beautiful day to have so many great Dynasty guests on, and we're going to talk about every single NFL team from a Dynasty perspective. So yeah, join us, and if you can donate or share the link, it really does help. So yeah,
absolutely. Make sure you donate. Again, the link is in the description of this video on YouTube. And hey, if you got to the end of the video and you're not subscribed, what the hell are you doing, guy? Come on, let's sort this out. Let's click that like, let's click that thumbs up. Remember, hey, leave that comment saying I'm in. You could win a free database. Can't beat it. So just want to say thank you, Ollie, so much once again for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening to the show. And remember, for anything Dynasty, you need to know, keep it locked on the Certified Inferno. I will see you next time.